Welcome to the 50th season of Scholastic Scrimmage. Special thanks to our title sponsor, Temple St. Luke's School of Medicine.
Since 2006, the Temple St. Luke's School of Medicine has focused on cultivating local talent, with more than a third of our graduates continuing their training at St. Luke's or now working as attending physicians for our network. Learn more at souhn.org/SOM.
Additional support provided by PPL Electric, Charles H. Hoke Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the second match of the 50th season of Scholastic Scrimmage. I'm your host, David Graff. Today's match is between Deer High School, who won the tournament the first year Scrimmage aired in 1975. And their opponent is Catasauqua High School. They've yet to make a final, but perhaps the 50th year is your year. The match will be composed of two halves with a lightning round midway through each half. At halftime, we'll pause so the students can introduce themselves. We'll get to know them a little bit better. As a reminder, Scholastic Scrimmage requires rapid recall of specific factual information. That's not necessarily indicative of academic training. And now let's begin. Buzzers ready? Here's our first toss-up question. What body of water receives the Shatt al-Arab River system, is connected to the Gulf of Oman by the Strait of Hormuz? Catasauqua.
Persian Gulf.
The Persian Gulf is correct, and it is southwest of Iran. For your bonus, what country, whose monarch is called the Dragon King, is home to many Buddhist structures in its capital of Thimphu?
Nepal.
That is incorrect. It's Bhutan, and the hint there is they have a dragon that goes across their flag. Next toss-up question. What painting featured a lute next to a globe, includes an anamorphic skull, and is a double portrait by Hans Holbein the Younger depicting diplomats? That painting is The Ambassadors. Next toss-up question. In what city's 2023 mayoral race did Paul Vyas lose to progressive Brandon Johnson after helping unseat its first black woman leader, Lori Lightfoot? Catasauqua.
Chicago.
Chicago is correct. If you ever fly out of ABE, a common connection is through Chicago O'Hare's Airport. For your bonus, British physician William Withering popularized the use of digitalis, a drug used to treat what condition of abnormal electrical patterns in the heart?
Cardiac arrhythmias.
Arrhythmias or cardiac arrhythmias is correct. Next toss-up. What object launched in 1957 from the Baikonur? Catasauqua.
Sputnik 1.
Sputnik 1 is correct, and it was built by the Soviet Union. For your bonus, goats are often sacrificed when people consult the Pythia at what temple dedicated to Apollo?
The Pantheon.
That is incorrect. The Oracle of Delphi is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What emperor built the Golden House, or Domus Aurea, in the aftermath of the AD 64 Great Fire of Rome, during which he is said to have fiddled? Catasauqua.
Nero.
Nero is correct. For your bonus, what playwright who wrote Homebody Cobble made the AIDS crisis the background for supernatural events in his two-part play, Angels in America? The correct answer is Tony Kushner. Next toss-up question. What author, who depicted the death of socialite Lily Bart in the novel The House of Mirth, wrote about Ellen Olenska in The Age of Innocence? Edith Wharton is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What city, whose neighborhoods include Anacostia, Adams Morgan, and Foggy Bottom, is circled by the capital, Catasauqua?
Boston.
That is incorrect. I'll continue for Deerif. Is circled by the capital Beltway and is on the Potomac River. Deerif.
Baltimore.
That is also incorrect, but you're closer. It's Washington, D.C. is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What ingredient, which is used to color Coca-Cola and is the sauce of flan, is made by heating sugars in a namesake process that turns it... Dirif.
Caramel.
Caramel is correct. For your bonus, in 2024, the European Space Agency's Bepi Colombo probe had a glitch en route to what planet, visited in 2011 by NASA's Messenger probe?
Jupiter.
That is incorrect. Mercury is the correct answer. And that glitch actually caused a misfire in their thrusters, which in space threw them off by 11 months from their deadline. Next toss-up. What Civil War general, who supposedly declared war is hell, used scorched earth tactics? Dirif.
Sherman.
William Tecumseh Sherman is correct, and he used scorched earth tactics when he was headed to Savannah, Georgia in his March to the Sea. For your bonus, what activist became the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize, honoring a settlement house she created in Chicago called Hull House?
Greta Thunberg.
That's incorrect. Jane Addams is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What particles are the two main products of spallation sources, are made up of an up quark and two down quarks, and whose protons form an atom's nucleus? Dirif.
Neutrons.
Neutrons is correct. For your bonus, according to Vesper theory, what molecular geometry is exhibited by the triatomic molecule carbon dioxide?
Triangle.
That is incorrect. Linear molecular geometry is the correct answer. And with that, we have reached the first lightning round. In a pre-match coin toss, it was determined that Catasauqua will get to pick between the following topics: American poetry or music by the numbers.
Music by the numbers.
Music by the numbers, it is. Catasauqua, your topic is music by the numbers. Give these numbers from music. Answers may repeat. Musicians in an octet.
8.
Correct. Ludwig van Beethoven's final completed symphony.
6th.
Incorrect. Lines on a treble clef staff.
5.
Correct. Keys on a grand piano.
88.
Correct. Valves on a standard trumpet.
3.
Correct. Either number in a time signature, also known as cut time.
Pass.
Pedals on a concert harp.
3.
Incorrect. Unusual number of movements in Symphonie Fantastique.
6.
Incorrect. Beats in a whole rest in common time.
4.
Correct. Half step in a tritone. Half steps in a tritone.
2.
That is incorrect. That last answer is 6. And believe it or not, I never knew this, there are 7 pedals to a concert harp. Okay, dear, that leaves you with American poetry. Name the authors of these poems. The Raven.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Correct. Song of Myself.
Pass.
The Road Not Taken.
Walt Whitman.
Incorrect. A poem whose speaker enters a carriage with death and immortality.
Pass.
Anyone lived in a pretty how town, which mostly avoids using capital letters.
Pass.
The 1956 poem Howl.
Robert Frost.
Incorrect. To My Dear and Loving Husband, published in the 1600s.
Virginia Woolf.
Incorrect. The Emperor of Ice Cream.
Robert Frost.
Incorrect. A poem about a musician on Lenox Avenue playing a drowsy, syncopated tune.
Kendrick Lamar.
Incorrect. Snowbound and the Civil War poem Barbara Fritchie.
Drake.
Incorrect. John Greenleaf Whittier is the correct answer to that last one. And we'll continue on with the following toss-up question. What orphan is mistakenly sent to live with Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, who own a farm on Prince Edward Island in a series by Lucy Maud Montgomery? This is one of my wife's favorites. It's Anne of Green Gables. Next toss-up question. What politician whom Joseph Welch asked if he had no sense of decency? Deareth.
McCarthy.
McCarthy is correct, and he asked that during a 1954 hearing. He was also a Wisconsin senator. For your bonus, what state's Arches National Park contains the 52-foot tall delicate arch, which is depicted on its state's license plate?
Missouri.
That's incorrect. It's Utah. Utah has the arch right in the middle of the license plate. Next toss-up question. What opera, which is based on a novel by Prosper Mérimée, includes Habanera, sung by the title seductive Roma woman, and is by Georges Bizet? You know Habanera if you heard it. It's from the opera Carmen. Next toss-up question. What region, which is home to Tutinos and Cubewanos, is closer to the sun than the Oort cloud and is a belt named for a Dutch astronomer? Deareth.
The Kuiper Belt.
The Kuiper Belt is correct. For your bonus, what artist painted his wife, Aline Charigot, playing with a dog on a balcony in Luncheon of the Boating Party?
Pass.
Renoir is the correct answer. Next toss-up. What war, which is the setting of Anthony Doerr's novel, All the Light We Cannot See, is also the subject?
World War II.
Go ahead, Katasakwa.
World War II.
World War II is correct. For your bonus, Friedrich Nietzsche's first book is considered the birth of what literary genre from the spirit of music?
Musical.
That is incorrect. Tragedy is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What country reached a 2022 peace agreement with the TPLF under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to end a conflict in Tigray region north of Addis? Deareth.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia is correct, in the region north of Addis Ababa. For your bonus, what British author critiqued the lack of educational opportunities for women in her essays Three Guineas and A Room of One's Own?
Jane Austen.
Incorrect. That's one of your answers from before. Virginia Woolf is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What country, where islanders exchange gifts in the Kula tradition, count over 800 indigenous languages, and is governed from Port Moresby? Deareth.
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea is correct. For your bonus, what NHL franchise suspended operation in 2024 with its players and staff moving north to become the Utah Hockey Club?
Arizona Coyotes.
That is also correct. And unfortunately, I believe their first goal they ever scored as Utah Hockey Club was actually an own goal against themselves. So not off to a great start for that hockey team. And with that, we have reached halftime. We have an excellent match underway. Deareth currently leads with a score of 85 to Catasauqua's 80. And with that, we'll have each student introduce themselves with their first and last name, their grade level, and the answer to the following question, which they did not hear ahead of time, so I'll preface it with that. What do they feel is their favorite innovation of the last 50 years? Deareth, you're here. We start with you. Go ahead.
Yahir Beresweta, 12th grade, and the iPhone.
All right. Now, no one said iPhone in the first round, so that's iPhone is now done officially for everybody in the first round. Yahir got it first. Daniela, go ahead.
Daniela Awad, 12th grade, and I think laptops.
Excellent. Caden?
Caden Sprayberry, 12th grade, and Dr. Pepper.
Oh, all right.
Jacob Williams, 12th grade, and the internet.
Okay. Catasauqua Lennon, go ahead.
Lennon Murray, 11th grade, and
the Green Revolution.
Okay.
Kevin McGogran, 11th grade. I would say like the like sports broadcasting.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dylan McGogran, 11th grade, organ transplantation.
Okay.
Calais Hodson, 12th grade, and I would say just the amount of stuff that can be like solar or like wind powered.
Yeah, very cool, through renewable energy. So, Kate, now we know, are you original Dr. Pepper or are we any one of the variations? Which one are we going?
No, original Dr. Pepper. Diet
Original-
Dr. Pepper is overrated.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue on with the second half of the match with the following toss-up question. What woman who led 3 steamboats in South Carolina during the Combahee River Raid escaped slavery in Maryland before helping dozens more escape? Dira.
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman is correct. Your bonus is in mathematics. Pencil and paper ready. If x is an integer with a unit digit of 7, what must be the unit digit of the integer equal to x cubed? Once you have it, tell Caden. Time is up. It is 3 is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What city that was home to the House of the Tragic Poet and the House of the Faun was buried in ash in AD 7? Dira.
Pompeii.
Pompeii is correct, and it was buried when Mount Vesuvius erupted. For your bonus, what poem which describes how poppies blow between rows of crosses was written by John McCrae to commemorate fallen soldiers in World War I?
A Farewell to Arms.
That is incorrect. In Flanders Fields is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What single-celled organisms, which include those in the genus Candida, are a type of fungi which are used to produce alcohol in fermentation? Katasakwa.
Yeast.
Yeast or yeasts is correct. For your bonus, backyard furnaces were encouraged as part of what failed 1958 to 1962 program ordered by Mao Zedong to rapidly industrialize China?
The Great Leap Forward.
Correct. Next toss-up question. What dynasty, which sponsored Young Hu's travels across the Indian Ocean, ruled China between 1368 and Katasakwa?
The Ming.
The Ming Dynasty is correct, and it was ousted by the Qing Dynasty. For your bonus, what country hosts the world's oldest ultra-marathon, the Comrades Marathon, an annual race between its cities of Durban and Pietermaritzburg?
Russia.
Incorrect. South Africa is the correct answer. And I actually know 2 people who completed that marathon. I used to work at Runner's World magazine, and it is brutal, absolutely brutal. Next toss-up question. What quantity proposed by S.P.L. Sorensen is defined as the negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration, and for pure water is typically 7? Dira.
pH.
pH is correct. For your bonus, what author of The Daughter of Fortune wrote about the clairvoyant Clara del Valle in the House of the Spirits and is a magical realist writer from Chile? Isabel Allende is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What novel, whose protagonist presents 2 white flowers given to him by Weena the Eloy, after describing a trip to the far future, is by H.G. Wells? Katasakwa.
The Time Machine.
The Time Machine is correct. For your bonus, Guy Fawkes and Robert Catesby were leaders of what plot that aimed to kill King James I when he visited the House of Lords? The correct answer is the Gunpowder Plot. And with that, we have reached the second lightning round. Dearif, you'll get to select between the following topics: classic film titles or seasons. Quickly, Caden.
What do we think, guys?
Films.
Films? Films. We'll go classic film titles.
All right, we're going classic films. Dearif, your topic is classic film titles. Give the word that completes the title of these films. 1939, The Wizard of Blank.
Oz.
Correct. 1952, Singing in the...
Rain.
Correct. 1939, Gone with the...
Wind.
Correct. 1959, Some Like It Blank.
Hot.
Correct. 1968, Night of the Living Blank.
Dead.
Correct. 1946, It's a Wonderful Blank.
World.
Incorrect. 1939, Mr. Smith Goes to Blank.
Work.
Incorrect. 1967, Guess Who's Coming to...
Town.
Incorrect. 1948, The Treasure of the Sierra Blank.
Desert.
Incorrect. 1957, The Bridge on the River Blank.
Valley.
That is incorrect. It's the Kwai. Bridge on the River Kwai. Catasauqua, your topic is seasons. Give these answers that include the name of a season. Part of Antonio Vivaldi's The Four Seasons that depicts chattering teeth.
Winter.
Correct. Protests in the Middle East in the 2010s.
Arab Spring.
Correct. International sporting event held in Paris in 2024.
Olympics.
Be more specific.
Summer Olympics.
Correct. Igor Stravinsky's ballet, who 1913 premiere audience rioted.
Pass.
Chinese festival in which mooncakes are eaten.
Chinese New Year.
That is incorrect. Asterism with 3 vertices, including Denab, that is overheard in July.
Pass.
Rachel Carson's book that warned against DDT.
Pass.
7-word opening line of Shakespeare's Richard III.
Pass.
Aaron Copland ballet titled for a mountain range.
Pass.
2-word nickname for baseball's World Series.
Fall Classic.
Unfortunately, the buzzer did go before that. You were correct with Fall Classic, but no points for that one. We'll continue the final quarter of the match with the following toss-up question. What structure, which was struck by the ship Dali in March 2024 and destroyed, is a Baltimore bridge named for the Catasauqua?
Francis Scott Key Bridge.
That is correct, and it was named for the author of The Star-Spangled Banner. For your bonus, since 2023, what former cricketer and Prime Minister of Pakistan had been jailed on, or has been jailed on, various corruption charges? Imran Khan is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What conquistador who was presented with ransom rooms after the Battle of Cajamarca imprisoned Atahualpa in 1532 while invading the Incan Empire? That's Cajamarca, is the Battle of Cajamarca. My bad on the mispronunciation on that one. Francisco Pizarro is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What poem in which Shantanu marries the goddess Ganga is a Sanskrit epic that contains a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita? Go ahead, dear.
The Epic of Gilgamesh.
That is incorrect. Over to Catasauqua. The Mahabharata is the correct answer. Next toss-up. What scientist who wrote the book Optics used a prism to split white light and wrote the Principia, which includes his 3 laws of classical motion? Dearif.
Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton is correct. For your bonus, the ancient Greek city of Byzantium was renamed to become what capital of the Byzantine Empire?
Constantinople.
Constantinople is also correct. Next toss-up question. What 2020 roguelike game whose 2024 sequel features Dirif?
Hades.
Hades is correct, and you have to help him escape the Greek underworld in the game. For your bonus, what phenomenon whose near-field form is named after Augustin Jean Fresnel is the bending of light as it passes an obstacle?
Refraction.
That is incorrect. Diffraction is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What word partially names a work by Sergei Rachmaninoff based on a theme of Paganini as well as a jazz-inspired work by George Gershwin in blue?
Rhapsody.
Katasakwa?
Rhapsody.
Rhapsody is correct. For your bonus, what quantity in economics, which has a marginal form, is maximized by rational actors and is the satisfaction derived from one's choices?
Pass.
Utility is the correct answer. Next toss-up question. What river, whose tributaries include the Oise and Marne rivers, rises northwest of Dijon and is crossed by the Pont Neuf as it flows through Paris? Katasakwa.
The Seine. Seine.
Judges? Yeah, we'll take it. The Seine or Seine River is the correct answer. For your bonus, The Poet was the original title of what bronze sculpture that shows a man pensively resting his chin on his fist?
The Thinker.
The Thinker is correct. Next toss-up question. It's in math, pencil and paper ready. And with that, we have reached the end of a very tight match. Congratulations to both teams. That was what a way to start the season in the second match. Katasakwa, you have won, and we'll go on to the second round with a score of 175 to Dirif's 165. Dirif, good luck with the rest of your school year. And we will see you next week when Marian Catholic takes on Central Catholic High School.
Since 2006, the Temple St. Luke's School of Medicine has focused on cultivating local talent, with more than a third of our graduates continuing their training at St. Luke's or now working as attending physicians for our network. Learn more at souhn.org/SOM.